Today's episode of the Too Tall Sports Podcast is brought to you by no one. Our guest today is Nick Vincent, a former college teammate of mine. He is a relief pitcher for the Miami Marlins. We go into his career a little bit. He's a hometown San Diego kid, got drafted by the Padres as well, which is pretty cool. So we dive into that and just what it's been like in quarantine and also in the pandemic playing baseball. He's got a great story, and he has a funny story at the end also that I think you'll enjoy about getting called up to the big leagues. So once again, Too Tall Sports Podcast. You can find me everywhere on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon. You can find it everywhere. So if you want to reach out to me on social media at TOO Tall Sports Podcast. Enjoy the episode, and let me know what you think. All right, welcome back to another edition of the Too Tall Sports Podcast. My next guest is a reliever for the Miami Marlins. We played together in college at Long Beach State, and he was an 18th round pick all the way back in 2008 by the San Diego Padres. And he's been with the Phillies, Giants, and Mariners as well in his career, and he's with Miami now. One of the best dudes in baseball, my old buddy, Nick Vincent. What's going on, man? How you doing?
We're doing good. How we doing, big dog?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Before we dive into your career, I just kind of want to ask you briefly what it's been like this year in 2020 with COVID and all that stuff. How's it been playing this year?
It's definitely been different. I mean, obviously you got the no fans. As a reliever, you kind of build off of that adrenaline of being home or away. Like when the fans for you or for against you, you just get an adrenaline rush. But there's just a lot of daily stuff you got to do to just play baseball. We are in a pandemic. You got to wear your mask everywhere. Only places we're not allowed to is when you're on the field or in the weight room. So sitting in the bullpen, you got to have it on the whole time. You just gotta be careful what you do because you don't want to get your whole team sick. That's the thing. You've already seen it with the Marlins. They got it early, and that's the main reason I'm up here right now. But I mean, it spread within 3 days. It spread from 4 guys to 18. So
wow,
it's different with that. We got our daily temperature check every day. It's a lot you got to do on the daily, but I think like we said earlier, it's like you got to adapt to it. The more you reject it every day, the worse it's going to take for this team going down the road. So we just accepted it early and just got used to the whole daily grind. And it's when you go out there, it's baseball. It's more like a kind of like the scrimmage game atmosphere. There's not too much. You got the crowd noise, but it's not the same.
It's like spring training almost.
It is kind of, but that's what's hard is like mentally you got to like, all right, I got to lock it in. Like these games matter. Like these games actually count.
Right.
They're not just like get ready for a season. Like these games are counting. So that's the hardest part for some guys. You see velocities and stuff. Everything's down. Guys are struggling. It's like some guys thrive off of the crowd. Like some guys can take that crowd noise and use it for them. Some guys can't. But it's definitely a down year for most guys pitching velocity. And you see around the league, a lot of guys are not what they usually are. Yeah. But it's hopefully this is a one-time thing for baseball, and it'll probably be different down the road. But at least we'll get some fans back in the stands hopefully next year.
Yeah, for sure. I want to kind of go back to the beginning of your, life. You're a true San Diego guy. Were you always a baseball player growing up, or did you have other interests too before you really committed to baseball?
No, I've always played baseball. I played since I was probably 3 or 4 years old. I think I got pictures of wearing Padres stuff back in the day, hitting off a little wiffle ball tee. But I always did baseball. Played basketball a little bit. We had a bunch of boys in the neighborhood, so we were always playing whatever like sports season it was. It was football. We were playing football. If it was baseball, we were playing baseball. Like that's what we did in the neighborhood. And I think there was like 6 boys, maybe more than that, 8. But we were always doing something outside, running around doing something.
When did you really commit to being a pitcher full time? You know, everybody plays everything when they're younger, but maybe was it high school, or when did you really think like, all right, I got a chance to make it as a pitcher?
I committed, I think, in high school. I played shortstop and pitcher freshman, sophomore year, and then junior, senior year, I was pretty much pitcher. I played outfield a little bit. I just couldn't hit. So that's pretty much why I went straight to pitching.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah. But I didn't know then that I was going to do baseball. I went to Palomar Junior College, and something clicked from when I graduated till when I made that team. Like something just clicked. I think it was like we actually like had a workout program, and you played with some better players, and you had some better defense behind you. There was a lot of things I thought contributed to it. But I went from throwing 83 to 84 to throwing 87 to 88, touching 89 in like 6 months. It's like a 6 month period. And I was like, well, this might be a thing right now. And I went and I made the team. I was actually like one of the last guys to make the team there.
Wow.
Made the team. A guy got hurt. I became like a third starter. And then like I was like 5-1 with like a 1-3. And I was like in my head, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing right now, but like this is awesome. Yeah. And then I ended up like getting hurt. I strained my leg in my elbow, so I had to take the rest of the season off. But after like that was when I knew I was like, all right, like baseball is something I need to like focus a little bit more on.
I saw your numbers. I mean, you absolutely dominated junior college at Palomar, and you were all league pitcher too. So, after your second year, were you getting some looks from other schools? I know, and we'll get to Long Beach in a second, but what were those years like at Palomar, at least the second year where you really dominated?
Yeah, I thought I would have something, but I was never big. I was always the 5'11". I think back then, I was probably 160 pounds maybe.
Yeah.
Like I was just smaller. And then that's what all the scouts would come, and they'd always watch guys in the junior college, but always be for the other team or something. And like, okay. I was like, all right. And I would always pitch and put myself on the map that way, I think. But they would always say like, he needs to get bigger. We want to see him go to D1 and do well there. And they just prolonged it probably for the most part. But, that's pretty much how I've been my whole life, is the underdog. So it is what it is. Like I've always thrived when I got the opportunity. So
definitely. Yeah, you took advantage of your opportunities, man.
Yeah. Junior college is definitely when it clicked for me. And then, I went to Long Beach and became a reliever there and got used to relieving, and then blossomed as a reliever.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that transition, because, you were obviously a starter in junior college. So, and you were really good. So what did you want to make that change, or you knew going into Long Beach that you were going to be a full-time reliever?
No, I think Buck, he wanted, because we had Jake Thompson as a Sunday guy. They had him as the Sunday guy, and they told me they think that I could easily adapt to being a reliever compared to him being a reliever.
Yeah.
So they put me in the bullpen, and I just started learning how to throw as a reliever.
That's the best thing you could have done.
I know.
So you and I got to meet, obviously, when you got to Long Beach in the fall of 2007, and then we played the 2008 season together. What do you remember about that season where we had a bunch of guys drafted? It was a great team. What do you remember about that 2008 Long Beach State season?
That team was, we had a bunch of, it was a veteran, it wasn't a bad, I'd say it was an older team.
Yeah.
We had some good times there. We had an older group, so we could go out and have some fun. But we also we worked our butts off, like when we were at the Blair. Like it was the dirtbag mentality. It was just a good group of guys, like good mixture, like all over the map. Just I didn't think like D1 was going to be like that. Like I thought it was going to be a bunch of guys. I thought they were the kings of the school, having a bunch of like transfers come in for that year. But we all meshed well. Like it was it was one of the funnest years. Like still I remember.
Yeah. Same here, man. We had a great squad, and we had a lot of talent too. So obviously, winning makes it a lot better too.
Yeah.
And you ended up getting, a lot of guys on the team got drafted, and you got drafted by your hometown San Diego Padres. Like the odds of that are very slim, and you were foreshadowing when you were younger in Padres gear, but it just everything fell into place. You get drafted by your hometown team. So what was that like for you and your family getting drafted by San Diego?
It was definitely cool. It was kind of like, it was one of those draft days, like, oh, they said we're going to go in the 10th round, blah, blah, blah. So I got drafted, and I was like, like kind of is what it is. But after the fact, I was like, you're drafted, you're going to play Major League Baseball, or you're going to play professional baseball. I didn't know if it was going to be Major Leagues or not.
Right.
But you got drafted, like you got to that far. Like who would have thought small town kid from Ramona did firewood construction growing up would have been here. But when I got called up, that's when like the whole first day when I was in my first call up was just like, it was just a blur like the whole day, because there's so much going on. You got to sign papers, you got to do all this, you got media. It's like oh, now there's a game, and it's just a blur the whole day. The second day, I think we were playing the Angels, and I just remember it was like packed house, and I was sitting in the bullpen. And I just like looked up, and I was like, "You did it! Like you're here!" Like it was just that was like the surreal moment. I was like, "Wow!" Like you used to be in those stands watching these games. Yeah. And now you're on the field looking up at the stand. Like, it was crazy.
It's wild. I want to go back to one quick story in college because I had our pitching coach, John Strauss, on recently. And so he brought up the story of when we were going over a scouting report and everyone's, trying to lock in or whatever. And you're just, I think you either threw like a paper airplane at him or something like that. You're just like, F this, I don't care. This is what I do. This is the kind of pitcher I am. And it kind of epitomizes who you are. But it was a great story from him. What do you remember about that day?
I don't even remember the whole scouting report thing, but I'm still kind of the same way in scouting reports now. It's just they tell you some things like, hey, let's not do this, let's stay here, and it's like that doesn't help my pitching philosophy. Like I have to throw a certain way to get guys out. Like I might throw 90 miles an hour. I can't sit up in the zone how they want guys to sit up in the zone. Like 90 gets crushed up in the zone. Right. I can throw it up there, but I got to throw stuff down and in and out, and like I got to get to that spot. So I think I've always just been that way. It's more like I'd rather have conviction in the stuff that I'm throwing than stick to what they kind of put out, because a lot of it now it's not even like real life numbers. A lot of it's just what a computer has based off of your arm angle and your spin rate, and some of it's useful, but some of it's also like it takes out the intangibles of your deception, like how you feel that day. Like there's a lot of small stuff it doesn't put into account. Like have you thrown 3 out of 3?
Yeah, exactly.
So I've still been the same pitcher I pretty much was back in junior bed Long Beach. Like I attack guys. If I'm gonna try to blow a fastball by you at 88, I'm gonna try to blow a fastball at you by 88, and it'll work sometimes and sometimes it won't. Like it's just what it is.
Yeah. No, I think there's definitely 2 trains of thought there, especially with so much information now. You can be the old school, like, look, I'm going to give you my strength versus just pitching to their weakness all the time. Or there's, I want every bit, I want every, at bat for the last month on this guy, and I'm going to do exactly all that stuff. That's hard to do when everybody's only they're limited. Everyone's got what they got. So is that kind of how you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely there's definitely a change of baseball era going on right now. You can tell like the younger kids are all about the numbers and what they want to see. They want to see their spin rate after every game and all this. And for me, it's like you can do that, but it's also I didn't grow up like you go out, you challenge a guy, you get guys out. It's like my goal is like try to strike guys out. Like that's what it is. You strike guys out, you're going to put yourself in good spots. At least you're going to be attacking the zone
for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just there's a lot of information especially for young players to look at it daily or every 3 games when you got to go over a new scouting report and like lock all that in. I go off of history and kind of just like hitters' approaches off me in general. That's kind of the way I pitch. I'm like, all right, what are they trying to do off me, and then pitch away from that.
Yeah.
So
I want to talk to you about your first couple of years. Lucky enough, you got a lot of nice breaks, I guess you could say. In your first couple of years, you got to pitch in Lake Elsinore. There's not that many California teams. Like you got to pitch kind of close to home also, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. So how were your first couple of years pitching in Lake Elsinore, which was high A for the Padres?
Oh, it was good. I mean, like everybody had host families, but luckily my aunt and uncle lived up there. So I lived with them for 2 years. It was perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I lived with them. I got to hang out with cousin, but live with them. Yeah, Lake Elsinore was awesome park compared to other ones in the league that year.
Right.
So like I was fortunate enough to pitch there. It's a bigger park. Some of the places in California, like it's a launching pad.
Yeah.
So, Elsinore was awesome. Like I said, I got to live with the family. Mom and dad, they always came up to games. Brother, they would always, and all my buddies and friends for Thirsty Thursday, they found out about dollar beers, and they were coming up like every Thursday.
Minor league games are fun for the fans, so it's good.
They are. I tell all my friends and family, like my friends are from back home are more like desert river rats, so they don't really get baseball. They're not into it too much. Some do.
Sure.
But I tell them, you guys want to have fun at a baseball game? Come to these minor league games. Like they're way more fun. It's cheaper. I mean, you can go ahead and do what you want. Like big league games is different. You got to spend $100 to eat a burger and a drink. So it's
when you got to pro ball, you obviously, I mean, you were doing great. You dominated, it's pretty much all levels. But could you tell a difference between college and pro ball as far as the hitters go?
No. I think the biggest difference to me was you started seeing double A, you started seeing a lot better hitters. I think college hitters were pretty equivalent to high A, just because you got a lot of young Latin guys who are just swinging at everything. Double A, you started to see the better Latin players making hitting pitches that you didn't think they could hit. So that was the biggest hit for me. And then I think from Triple A to Double A is a huge difference, just because you have so many veteran guys. I guess when I remember my first couple years at Triple A, I was like, holy moly, this is going to be a long year. Because you got the good prospects usually in AAA, and then you got the old veteran guys who will foul stuff off, or they know what you throw and they're going to ambush early.
Right.
So I thought that was the biggest difference.
Most guys, at least for me, when I got to Double A, my biggest struggle was that level, going from high to Double A. Some guys think it's Double A to Triple A, whatever the reason is, but everybody hits usually some kind of wall. But when you got to Double A, you didn't stop dominating at all. No. You really didn't have any issues. So when you were it was San Antonio for you. Were you feeling like, man, I'm getting a lot of guys out and not struggling? I'm knocking on the door in Double A here.
I didn't even think about that in Double A. I knew at the end of the year, it was gonna be my protection year. I was like, I had a good year. I was like, I probably need to get an agent. So I put something on Facebook or something. I was like, hey guys, anybody got these sports agents? I need to figure something out, because I don't know what I'm getting myself into. And I got 2 contacts, called both of them, ended up going with one guy. Just felt better about it, and I've been with them since. But I was just like, I knew something was going to happen. I just was like, I need a little guidance of going forward with this, because there was a lot of guys.
You got to Double A that without an agent, with people get that far.
I mean, even when I signed, I remember I was like, I asked my dad, I was like, hey, should I get an agent? He's like, I don't know. My dad, he doesn't know anything either.
Sure.
And somebody else was like, yeah, unless you're a top 10 guy, there's no point to get an agent. I'm like, all right. So I doubled my money with the Padres and got to 20. I was like, all right, perfect. That's enough for me. Doubled it, I guess.
Yeah.
But then I asked my pitch coach, my first one in Elsinore. I was like, hey, what do we got in these agents? Should I get an agent? And he goes, personally, they're going to cause more havoc than anything for younger players coming to the minor leagues. So I wouldn't deal with it. I was like, all right, perfect.
Yeah.
I was like, for me, I knew early on, you put up numbers, you're going to go for it. If you don't, you're going to get struggled. And I kind of gave it a 5-year plan, and it ended up working for me that 5th year or whatever. So it all worked out for the good.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the Padres did put you on their 40 man. And then in May of 2012, you got called up, but I saw you didn't even pitch. So you got called up, you're in limbo, and then you go back down, and then a month later you come up and you actually get the pitch, and you throw 2 scoreless, which is awesome. How did you handle getting called up, all the excitement? You don't even pitch, and then you go back down, and then how did you deal with all that?
Well, it was kind of a funny story, because I rolled my ankle in spring training. I was coming off of, I think I was off for 2 months, and I wasn't pitching good when they called and told me I was coming up. The coach called me. He was like, hey, you're going up to the big leagues. I was like, I said a bad word. I said, no way. And he goes, yeah, you are. I don't joke around about this stuff. I was like, okay. So I hung up with that, and I told my roommate who was driving, I was like, hey, we got to go back to the field. I got to get my stuff. Going up to San Diego. And he goes, really? I was like, yeah. I said the same thing, because I literally, the day or 2 days before, I gave up 5 runs in 0.1 of an inning. I gave up a grand slam.
Okay.
I was like, I don't know what's going on right now. I went up there, obviously nervous, going to the Bud Black's office. He goes, hey, you're here to help us win. We're gonna use you if we need you, but just be ready. I was like, okay. And they threw 16 innings the day before, so I was like the emergency of emergency.
Right.
Yeah, I remember I got up and started throwing the first day, and my family and friends, they had 80 tickets right by the bullpen, and they went crazy. So that was awesome. But I didn't go in that time at San Diego. So,
Okay.
but like in my head, I was thinking, I was like, I am not ready to pitch in the big leagues right now. Like I'm not pitching well.
Right, which is crazy
So
because you dominated Double A, and most people, if you can do that, most people think you're good enough to get to the big leagues. But yeah, it's
mhm.
when you don't feel right and you get called up, you're probably just
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I can handle this. Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, I mean, I'll give it what I got, but I know I'm not, whatever I'm throwing right now is not what I usually am. Just,
right.
I think that just landing on that front left foot was just, I wasn't putting any pressure on it or something, but I was not pitching well. And it was the first year in the PCL. Like I started learning the PCL. It's a different ball game there than everywhere else.
For sure, the ball definitely flies. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, as far as I know you had a few injuries in the big leagues, but you really you stayed up there for a while for the most part. I know you went up and down a little bit at AAA, but you were
hmm
able to stick for a while. What do you think? Is it just your mindset or just the way you attack hitters? How were you able to stay in the big leagues as long as you did? Not only just get up
Uh, that's a hard question. I know
there.
that's the question we always like. It's
Right.
always we always say like, hey, it's when you get there, it's like it's good you got there. But it's like, all right, how do you stay here?
Right.
And I think for the pod when I was with the Padres, like I had to throw, I think it was like 13 or 14 scoreless, and they finally were like, hey, Buddy Black, he's like, hey, you got an apartment here? I was like, no. He goes, all right, go find an apartment. Like you're good. You're not going anywhere. Because it was the merry-go-round for a while. It was me,
Okay.
Brad Boxberger, Brad Brock, Miles Michaelis. Like there was like 5 or 6 righties, and we were all good. Like it was just like, all right, who do we want today? Who do we want this time? So at that point, it was hard. And I finally went up there, and I finally stuck in 13, and that's when I got my chance to thrive. And I mean, I did well. Like I said, it's always been like you put up numbers, you're gonna stay, or if you don't, you're gonna go down. Like it's pretty simple.
I think you have a great mindset for a reliever, man. You don't. It's easy. It's simple. It's just look, put me in the game. I'm going to get guys out, and that's it.
Yeah, it's.
Good.
I think that you have to be that way as a reliever
Yeah.
because it's like you got. If you're in a season for a whole season, it's 70 games. Like you're gonna pitch, so you gotta just you have a bad game. It's hard when you're younger. I'll definitely
Yeah.
say that. Like I remember I'd be up in hotel rooms. Like, God, am I gonna sit down tomorrow? Like here we go. But just it's definitely easier the more you do it for sure.
You had great numbers as far as inherited runners not scoring. So when you come in the game, for those that don't know, it's you come in with people on base and you don't let them score. That's a different mindset as well. It's just knowing I got to get a ground ball here or whatever it is. I got to get out of this inning without letting guys score. And you were one of the best at it. What's kind of your mindset when you get in the game and you have runners on?
It's definitely whatever the situation is. Like I remember 13 or 14, whatever. I think I was like top 10 in the league for that,
Yeah.
and there was multiple times where it was bases loaded, no outs, and I was like, all right, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
And I remember the first 3 times or first 2 times I went in, I did it by myself, and the third time I think we did it as a bullpen. But it's the first one's like, all right, like I need weak contact, or a strikeout, so it's something quick and early.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, it's still the same for my mindset though. It's just like attack. Like my thing is I don't want to walk guys in. I don't.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to do is give free bases because I can't. As a guy who throws 88 to 90.
Right.
So I've always attacked. I've thrived off my defense playing well behind me, and I feel like I work quick and I keep them ready and alert to catch the ball. So and I don't think it's much different. It's more like, all right, where do I want to try to get weak contact instead of like, all right, I'm just going to try to get a cutter here or fastball here. It's more of just attacking smaller spots, I think.
Right. And as far as pitching in Petco, I mean, that's a pitcher's park. So, how did you feel about pitching there and just the whole San Diego thing? I know it's kind of a hometown for you, but
Mm-hmm.
what was it like playing in San Diego and at Petco?
It was awesome. I mean, like I said, it's your childhood dream to play for your hometown team, and you do it. And it's still so. I think the craziest thing was playing for San Diego, and then Trevor Hoffman would come in. Tony Gwynn was the announcer back when for a little while. You had Brad Osmus, Mark Loretta. You had all these guys that you watched growing up, and then you finally get to meet them, and then they're just normal guys. Like it's just they're just older than you, and they played baseball back when you were a kid. And it's just they're baseball players, like you can tell. But still, just being on that field, I remember the first time stepping on the field and looking up. It's just it's a whole different view. It's awesome. Like Petco's like on top of you when you're on the field. It's like tall stadiums, pretty close. But yeah, just doing it for the hometown team, and I think that was the other cool part was that like, all right, I'm the hometown kid, like pitching for my hometown team. And I got some roots behind me that are rooting for me. Like I had people out of Vermont I haven't seen in 10 years come down and say, "Hey, what's up, Nick?" So
you got some new friends.
That
now.
was cool. Yeah.
So everything, seemingly was going great, and then you end up getting traded to Seattle from San Diego. So even though you pitched really well there, and we'll get to Seattle in a second, as far as getting traded, how did you feel about that whole situation? Did you feel like San Diego kind of gave up on you, or it was just part of the business? There's multiple ways to take that. How did you take it?
I knew. I mean, that year I didn't have any options. They had the new GM AJ Preller there. I knew in 15. I think that was my last year with the Padres. I felt it.
Okay.
I think I threw 3 out of 4 days to start the season, and then they sent me down to that one option left, and I was kind of the up down guy that year in 15. So I kind of knew. I was like, all right, like I talked to Pat Murphy about it a little bit, and we got to talking, and I was like, I'm pitching for 29 other teams right now, so to me it was like I just got to do well this year and see what happens next year. But I was with San Diego all spring training, and then 2 guys got hurt for Seattle, Ryan Cook and Scribner. But they both like had bad lat tears, so Mariners needed a reliever, and I was out of options. I think it was me and my roommate Kevin Quackenbush were the ones they were talking about trading. But Quackenbush had an option left, so the Padres kept him and traded me. So, I mean, it was the first time being traded, so that was weird. The fiance at the time, that was wife.
Yeah.
She was a little wrecked by it, but
okay.
We got through it. I told her it's gonna be fine. Like we're still playing. We're in the big leagues. Like
right.
We're gonna be all right. It's gonna be a little different. We're gonna be in Seattle, but we're still gonna be fine. So that was the first trade for both of us. But I mean, it couldn't have been the easier trade. Like we share a complex, so I literally packed my bags, got in the golf cart that they drive around the complex, and drove over to Seattle. And was like, "All right, guys, I'm here." And it was like I want to say 2 or 3 days before season started.
Wow.
Yeah, so I introduced myself, and then we were on a plane to I think Houston or something.
That's crazy. So it's pretty funny how non-baseball players, the thought of moving, no job security, all the stuff that we have to deal with, they don't get that, it's a lot to handle. We're just like, well, I guess I got to get out of my cable bill now, and I got to get out of my apartment lease.
Yeah, exactly. And luckily the place we were renting in San Diego was a friend. So he let us kind of get out of our lease with him. Because we rented that place for 2 years plus maybe.
Yeah.
So he was understanding. He's like, all right, well, I'll just put the house on the market and we'll see if it sells. And if it sells, we're good to go. And it ended up selling. So we all did good there. But yeah, the normal baseball life is not the normal life. Like it's, you're living in 3 different apartments or houses for spring training to season to your off season. I've noticed now with family, it's way harder with kids.
Yeah.
Way harder.
100%.
And I can see.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about your kids a little later, but go ahead. Yeah.
Go for it.
No. I'm saving it.
Save it for later. Save it for later.
I was going to say, when you got to Seattle, man, it's not like your performance dipped. You were I think you were second in holds for that year in 2017.
2017 was a good year.
Mr. Reliable. You come in, it's such for a coach to have a guy like you in the bullpen it's such a comforting thing. I can put you in, and I know you're going to keep us in it. So you went from being one of the best in inherited runners to one of the top hold guys. So, I mean, you were definitely solidified in your role there. What do you remember about that year in Seattle when you were still a really good reliever?
That year, so 16 was the first year. That's where I kind of learned about the AL a little bit. It's like,
okay, all
right, it's a little bit different pitching. You got 9 hitters instead of 8. So you saw your mistakes get just hit. They were just homers instead of doubles in the gap and stuff. It was a little different game that first year. But then after that, it just seemed like everybody, both sides, the NL and AL, were both swinging for the fences. Like that's kind of when that home runs started.
The shift in like
The shifts
analytics.
and they started going to the long ball a lot. But that's where I learned the second year was all right. Like stick to your strengths. Like don't try to be cute and try to backdoor something early and leave it middle. And that's when I was getting beat on that to lefties a lot. So I just mainly told the catcher, I was like, hey, like lefties, we're going in all day. We can, if we want to go backdoor cutter late to try to get them looking like on a strikeout, let's do it. But like, let's stay in, and righties, you can do whatever. Righties was whatever. But I was like, I stuck with that, and that's where it helped me out with lefties that year. They would hit singles, but I was like, they weren't hitting damage like they were the year before.
Right.
And that's the main thing. I think I gave up 2 homers that year.
Yeah.
So I didn't give up as many homers as I usually do. I usually got like 5 to 7 probably a year. Like that year was only 2, so that right there like helped me out a bunch. And if I didn't face the Angels that year, I would have had like a 1-5. The Angels, they were my nemesis. That they scored. I remember I gave up like 23 runs that year, and like I think 12 or 11 were against them.
Were some of them to Mike Trout?
I gave up a solo to Trout.
Yeah.
He got me in September, but so I've had somewhat success against because the fastball up plays to him a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a down hitter, but I mean he's by far the best player that's in baseball. He's gonna be that way for a long time. It's literally the only time if he gets out, it's a laser at somebody. Like it's crazy. And if he goes 0 for 4, he robs 2 homers. Like it's unbelievable what this guy does.
Have you seen? Even though speaking of Trout, so as good as he is, I mean, Mookie Betts is playing as well as anybody right now as well, and he's been kind of the guy. And do you see? Is it those 2 guys, or is it somebody else that's also on their level that you think?
Who's you got? Mookie, you got him. I mean, Yelich when he's right, he's good. He's really good because when I haven't played against him since he was with Miami.
Yeah.
But even Miami, he was an all around player. He just didn't hit for power. Now he's hitting for power, and he's got that launch angle. And I mean, he's a different player now by far. But I would say those 3 are probably the top tier. You got
how about Tatis Jr. in San Diego?
I was gonna say you got Tatis right now. He's tearing it up.
Yeah.
It's just hard to say with the young guys because it's like you'll have one good year one year, and then it's the guys that can put it together year in year out. Those are the ones that are like, all right, they're gonna be good for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. So you were with Seattle for a little bit, and then you went on to play for the Giants and Phillies, and then I think back with the Giants again before you got to Miami. So now that you've been around the league a little bit, where has been, other than Miami, of course, because you're going to love playing there right now while you're there, where has been your favorite place to play so far in your career?
I think you go back to usually your first team.
Yeah.
I think it's just because you got so many good memories when you first come up. You get your first win, you get a beer showers there. It's just being from San Diego, being at your hometown team too. Like I think San Diego is by far, but I've liked every place I've been at. Like Seattle was awesome. I played there for 3 years. Seattle during the summer, just like San Diego to me, like it was beautiful.
Yeah.
You got the water all around you. Everybody's out and about. San Fran, I had a great time with there. Like I went there, just like the history behind it, like seeing Willie Mays in the clubhouse every day was crazy. Like he would just be there. If you want to talk to him, you could talk to him. But playing with those guys that have won 3 World Series too, Belt, Posey, Bumgarner, all those guys, it was cool to be a part of. And like see, like I was like, all right, these guys are not gonna like be normal guys. They've got 3 World Series. We'll see how they are. I mean, they're just baseball players. They're just out there baseball. They're doing their job. Like it's funny when it's that thing. It's like when you're playing against somebody you don't like them. When you get to meet them, they're like they turned out being one of your best friends.
Right.
But yeah, I couldn't say everywhere I've played, I've loved. Like Philly was awesome. I got to play there for a month, play with that team. They got a good team there. And now with the Marlins, like this is a Marlins team. It's young and they are going to be good going forward. Like they have a lot of good guys. When I started in Jupiter, they had most of their prospects down there in the alternate site. They got some dudes down there that are going to be really good soon. They can't start their clock like right now, but I think in a couple of years, this team is going to be really good. They'll go out and get a couple hitters. But their pitching right now is unbelievable.
They had some. I mean, before Jeter took over the team, they were kind of they were selling the farm basically. They were just starting over, cleaning house, and they had Yelich and Ozuna, and they had Real Muto and other guys. Can you see a shift? I mean, so you started to talk about it, but can you tell that like the Marlins front office, just everything is starting to go in the right direction?
Yes. Yeah, I can. And you can tell, even when I got traded over here, I looked at all these kids, like I was getting to know everybody. I was like, oh, traded for Yelich, traded for JT. I was like, all right, these guys are going to be good. Like, you don't just trade Joe Schmoes for those big time names.
Right.
So a lot of these guys are in like the big trades. So now they're just some are up right now and getting their chance, but some of them are still down in Jupiter getting there working, and probably some are just back at home right now just to do with this whole year.
Yeah.
But you can definitely see a change where they bring in the piece by each year, and I think in a couple of years, like I said, the team's going to be good. Their starter right now, Sandy Alcantara, their ace. It's 98 with sink, like it's unhittable.
Jeez.
It's crazy, and he's long, gets on you. Sixto Sanchez, they just called him up probably 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
he was the one for JT Realmuto, and he's like the next Pedro Martinez type pitcher. Yeah, they got dudes. They got dudes.
As far as playing in Miami, I know you haven't been there with any fans yet. Not that they get a ton of fans. No offense, Miami. But what's it like playing baseball in Miami, which is a big Latin culture? It's a different vibe from playing out in San Diego.
Mm-hmm. It's different. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. 'Cause, yeah, we got no fans, but just driving down, you can tell. It's to me, it's kind of like it's an East Coast LA. It's just a different. Different. It's more Cubans and Dominicans, and it's just that kind of. You still got that Latin lifestyle, but it's just the East Coast. It's just different. Yeah. But it's and the weather. I mean, obviously the weather's a little different, but
right.
No, it's cool to just driving around and seeing different parts of the city, like how kind of some places are not the best, and so you got some nicer places, but you got like the skyscrapers right on the beach. So it's definitely a wild city. I'll say that. When I first came here, or when I was driving in, people on the freeway were just driving like no one's like they were in a NASCAR or they were in a VW Bug, like just going slow. I was like, this is crazy.
Damn.
But it's to me, it's like. When on the weekends, it's like Vegas just on the water. Like, it's just nonstop.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way I could live here. Like, this is just too much going on here. Like, no, too much.
Okay. Well, maybe it's easier with COVID and no fans, but yeah. What's it? Oh, now I can ask you about your kids. Now that you got 2 kids, you've been married for a while. What's it like now with kids and dealing with the pandemic and all that stuff? And you're still playing.
Yeah, this year it's been obviously hard for every family out there. But this year, I mean, yeah, I got released by the Giants, so then we were jobless, and then we signed with the Marlins. And I told her, I was like, it's with this pandemic thing, like I could drive out there in 2 days and it could be shut back down again. Like I don't want you guys driving out there and then we're gonna have to drive 24 hours back home. Yeah. So I went out solo and tried to make the team, and she stayed back at home in Austin, and she watched the kids, and she's a trooper. I mean, all moms out there know 1 mom, 2 kids by themselves in the baseball world. It's a lot of work. Luckily, my mom came out and helped out a little bit, and then there's actually ladies with us now, Victoria. She's a nanny for our neighbors, and she helped out for a week. So she had a little bit of help, but it's just the daily grind of being a mother, I think, is a lot harder than the daily grind of a baseball player. That's for sure. Yeah. But no, it's good. I mean, the Hazel's almost 3, Dax is almost 1. They're growing like weeds. It's crazy, but it's definitely awesome. It's definitely a different change of life. Like once you have kids, like everything you thought was important, like just goes like this. Like it's not even the picture. It's like, all right, it's all about them.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. I guess last thing, do you have any minor league or big league stories that any memories that you'd want to share with us of any funny stories?
I do. It's got to be the Pat Murphy one. So Pat Murphy was our manager in AAA, 13 and 14 and 15. This was in Tucson though, his first year. It was like a tie game. I think we had a guy, Daniel Strange. He was pitching 8th inning, and I think the hit in the order was like 8-9-1 or something. And there was a guy in second base maybe with 1 out, and he let the pitcher hit the reliever. I was like, what are we doing right now? He strikes out. We don't score. I'm like, what are we doing? He goes back out, pitches a scoreless inning, and then we hit like a walk-off 2-run homer to win the game. We come in, and Murphy walks by. I go, Murph, you better buy who is it? Galvez dinners and some drinks after that one. And he goes, what? I was like, for hitting the 2-run homer. And he goes, Vincent, you let me manage. You just go out there and throw the ball. And I was like, oh, no, like, what did I just say that for? Like, I was like, oh, that backfired big time.
Oh, good old Murph.
And I get a call from him while we're out. We out got dinner. It was me, Jackie, my wife, and a couple other like friends and wives. We were out getting drinks and some food. I get a call from Murph. And I was like, oh, like let it go through, let it go to voice. And he goes, hey, Vincent, call me back. I want to talk to you. And I was like, oh boy, like I'm getting released. Here we go. He calls me. He goes, hey, what you did today? You know, I'll let it slide, but don't do it again. All right. He goes, hey, come pack your stuff. You're going to San Diego. I was like, what? I was like, they are releasing me. I was like, I'm going home. He goes, you're going to go. How about the big league club tomorrow? Come back, get all your stuff, go back up there. And I was like, oh my God, like my heart like sunk in my chest. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm done. To him telling me he was going to play, you get called back up to go pitch for them. I was like, holy mollies.
That wasn't your first call up though, was it?
No, it wasn't. But it was more like the scene of events that happened going into it.
Oh, for sure.
And I was just like, oh boy, like I just opened my mouth one time and backfired. But to this day, even me and Murph, we talk about it all the time.
That's crazy. When I was in Reno, he was the manager of the AAA team there too. So
okay,
in Tucson still, yeah. But yeah, I remember he was an ASU coach. Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Yeah, he's got a different way of
yes
managing baseball, which I learned after playing with him. But he wins, and he gets the best out of his players, I think, and he puts guys out there that are going to make the team win. It might not be what the front office wants, but he's going to at least make your team win in AAA, which makes AAA a little bit more fun.
Right, definitely.
So,
especially with all the salty people in AAA that there are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing and getting a chance to get into your background a little bit, and hopefully I'll catch you down the road. I appreciate it, and good luck the rest of the season.
Yeah, man. No, thank you. Thanks for having me on here, and it was a good time.
Yeah, definitely. My thanks to Nick Vincent. It was a great episode. I hope you got something out of that. Pretty interesting story. Tough to not only get drafted, but also get drafted by your hometown squad and make it to the big leagues with them. So great for his family. A really cool story, and hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Once again, you can follow me at Too Tall Sports Podcast. That's TOO for 2. And let me know what you think. Always like to hear your feedback. And please subscribe, rate, and review, especially on Apple Podcasts. You can scroll down when you do see all episodes, and you can hit the 5-star. That'd be awesome. And on YouTube, if you like that, you can watch the interviews as well. So hit me up at Too Tall Sports Podcast, and we'll see you next week for another great episode. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.